holding hostage both the people of southern Israel and the people of Gaza.
But Mr. Regev, the fact is, you always qualify this with as precise as we can be. You can't be absolutely precise when you're dropping bombs from the sky, because you don't necessarily know who's in the buildings beneath you.
You know, we've spent a lot of time, and I'm sure your reporters in Gaza can verify this, we spent a lot of time before we hit a target putting out leaflets, putting in phone calls, messages are passed. I think the people of Gaza really do know that we want them no harm. Our target is only the Hamas military machine. And if you were a person living in Gaza, what would you be saying about Hamas today? Tearing up the ceasefire unilaterally, to everyone's dismay, our dismay, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the United Nations, everyone called upon them to go for the ceasefire. They said no, unilaterally, threw it out the window, and then escalating the violence. How, if you were a person living in Gaza, how would you justify Hamas's actions? I don't think there's any logic to it, except for simple nihilism.
Because I would put it to you, this is not my opinion, but I've read it several places, that what you're doing now is a show for the international community. You could do it another way. You could go in surgically with special forces, target the people that you wanted to get out of the way. But this is saying to the world, saying to the Palestinian people, say to Hamas, we can do this. Watch us.
I don't believe that that's true at all. And I think as of using ground forces in either way in the future, we have to be quiet about that because that's operational, and ultimately we want to have tactical surprise. It must be remembered that Israel did not seek this fight. We did not want this fight. This was initiated and orchestrated by Hamas. And everyone fails to understand the logic of Hamas's decisions. Today, people in southern Israel and in Gaza are suffering because of the short-sightedness, the extremism, and I'll use the word again, the nihilism of the Hamas leadership.
Let's ask you about the boat, the one that's off the coast of Israel, some distance off the coast of Israel. You know the one I'm referring to, bringing in medical supplies or trying to Gaza. Did your Navy engage it in any kind of action in international waters? This
is a propaganda stunt. We've said to the international community, to the United Nations, to UNRWA, to the World Food Programme, the crossings are open. You can bring in as many trucks as you like. Yesterday we allowed some 120 trucks in. Today we're willing to let a similar number in. There's no reason whatsoever for there to be shortages in Gaza. This boat business, it's just a propaganda stunt for people like yourselves, for people in the media. It really doesn't affect the lives of the people in Gaza. Whatever the reason for the boat going in there, and they would argue the opposite to the point that you're trying to make, I'm asking you about the practicalities, not on the ground but on the high seas. Did you engage it in any kind of action in international waters? Israel would never have done anything against international law. That's just inconceivable.
So you're saying that none of your vessels rammed the Dignity?
I'm not. I know that we act in accordance with international law. We're very, very careful about that. And this is just a propaganda stunt. These people want a headline. They don't really want to help the people of Gaza. If they wanted to help the people of Gaza, they'd be asking Hamas, why did you initiate this violence? Why did you initiate this round of fighting? Why did you initiate this escalation, which is bringing pain and suffering to both Palestinians and Israelis on both sides of the frontier?
OK, going back to what's happening onshore and a ground offensive, your Prime Minister saying a short while ago that the bombardment of Hamas targets, the first of several stages approved by the Jewish State Security Cabinet. If it comes down to a ground offensive, are you not in danger of making the same mistakes that you did in Lebanon in 2006?
I think most of the analysis, people watching this, what we've done in the last few days, the consensus is that we've learned from our shortcomings in 2006. And I think that will continue to be demonstrated. The way we took Hamas by surprise on Saturday afternoon, where we had a tactical victory there on that first day, the way we saw Hamas go into shock, the way today that Hamas leaders have disappeared, they're all in hiding, no one can see them. I think we've learned from our lessons in the past, and we are doing today what ultimately is a job that is important both in protecting the civilian population of Israel and in trying to hurt that Hamas military machine, which has brought so much pain on both Israelis and Palestinians.
And does it really matter at all what the international community says? The head of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, saying that the level of violence is completely unacceptable?
We didn't want this round of violence. Hamas initiated it, but we shouldn't have to play according to Hamas's rules. We are ready for calm and peace in the south. What we refuse to accept is returning back to the situation where we were last week, where every day rockets are coming from Gaza into Israeli civilian communities, targeting our civilians. You know, today there are 300,000 Israeli youngsters who are not going to school or kindergarten. Now that's not a new situation. We've had to spend millions of dollars in fortifying schools and kindergartens throughout the border area because those children have been growing up in bomb shelters because of Hamas rockets. Does anyone really believe that Israel will be willing to return to that situation? We can only end this when we have a new reality, a new security regime, a new security environment in the south that means that the Israeli civilian population is no longer the victim of these ongoing rocket barrages.
You've seen the regional protests, places like Cairo, Jordan, Lebanon, people on the streets saying that they're appalled by what Israel is doing. Is there a danger that this could become a much larger conflict than Israel against Hamas, as you say, in Gaza, that it could actually start to involve other countries, other Palestinians who feel that they need to support those who are under attack in Gaza?
Most of the Arab world are very critical of Hamas and the way they have initiated this conflict. We are concerned about people who share the Hamas world outlook, those extremist jihadist elements, people like Hezbollah in Lebanon. We're looking at them very closely. We want to see if they're going to make any moves. We're ready for any surprises. But as a whole, I think Hamas has not only alienated itself in large parts of the Arab world, they've also alienated themselves amongst large parts of the Palestinian community.
Mark Regev, thank you for your time. Spokesman for the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, talking to us from Jerusalem.
Thank you, Fat.
You're watching Al Jazeera. Time for us to take a